Russia has about 80% of its forces in forward positions ready to go at the border, and today could be the day. That's the word we are getting.
In capital Kiev, gunfire and explosions have been heard here and in the second city of Kharkiv shortly after the Russian President Vladimir Putin authorized a special military operation in Ukraine's Donbass region and told the Ukrainian military to lay down their weapons and go home.
Russia has launched a military assault on Ukraine, hitting targets across the country.
First of all, my experience and my feelings and my perspective are affected by the fact that, like, who I am. So, like, my identity, on one hand, Ukrainian, born in Ukraine, lived in Ukraine, currently live in Poland, but also a PhD student in political science. So it's not only my emotions, but also my assessment of the certain policies of certain Western countries, which I do not agree with. So I think it's like more complicated. It's not only fear and sadness and anger, but also some kind of frustration. When it comes to my feelings, I think February 24th, 2022, this is the day that I will remember for the rest of my life. My whole family, which lives in different cities, some of them had to move to different places within Ukraine or to a different countries. So yeah, that was definitely great sadness, a lot of sadness, a lot of tears, a lot of crying, because that is I couldn't stop crying for about 2 hours. So yeah, first reaction. And I know that a lot of people reacted this way. Or one of my family members was, basically he was a soldier, and he was killed. So he died for his country. And like, when people think that it's okay for soldiers to die, like, one of my friends told me that, it's like, when soldiers die, it's okay. And I would say, he was not a soldier. He became a soldier because someone has to defend this, like, his country, like Ukraine. So he became a soldier. He was a lecturer at the university. He was a writer, and he was he contributed a lot to the Ukrainian culture, but he became a soldier to defend his country. So one of my friends told me that it's okay for soldiers to die, but when a soldier dies, it means that a wife is left without a husband. He has 2 children, 2 daughters, and they do not have father anymore. So that was very sad for me. That is a great loss for our family. And one of my family members was also a soldier, severely injured. Again, that was a terrible thing for me to find out, because also when he was severely injured, his wife was pregnant. So this is the cost of war. So, and like, even within my family, even like for me to find out about it, that is horrible. And absolutely, a great sadness. That's the feeling. Yeah, great sadness. So when I found out about Bucha, it's like it could have been me, because Bucha is really close to Kyiv, so the capital of Ukraine. I lived in the capital, so it just under some different circumstances, I could have lived in Bucha, because, well, if my parents had more money, if we bought an apartment in Bucha, it could have been me. And like I could have been raped and hanged and tortured and killed in the most horrible way possible, because this is what happened. Like when I hear these stories, I just know that it could have been me. I wish I could do more to stop this from happening. Yeah, like a big part of me wants to have weapons in my hands and like join the army, fight against the Russian army. It's like, I would say that if they needed more people, I would have probably joined the army.
Honestly, when it all started, we were not thinking about moving out of the country. Like when it all started, we were like, okay, it's fine. We're just gonna spend some time in the village. We will not be in a big city, so it will be fine. But turned out being in the village is even more dangerous than staying in a big city, because the troops like that were physically there, not just bombing, but what were physically there, they were doing even more harm than rocket shellings, because they were raping women, they still are, children, men, like all of the people, destroying houses, taking hostage. Yeah, and like when they got really close to our village, like 10-15 kilometers from us, we understood that like it's time to go. Yeah, like I mentioned, we were not planning to go. We were certain that even if something bad happens, we will just stay at our home. This is our land, this is our house, we're not gonna leave it. But at some point you understand that like this is like a direct threat to your life and to life of your family. And like I have a small sister who's 11 years old, and like it's like when you see a child reacting to all the explosions, the bombings, like she's constantly like trying to cover up her ears. She cannot properly sleep at night. So there comes an understanding that you need to move out. And for us, it was like 1 hour that happened at night. Just in one moment, my mom realized that it's time to move the kids out, like, and to move the family out. And we had exactly 1 hour to pack our bags and run, because we had this I'm not sure how it's called, I guess martial law, like when you no, the curfew, like the COVID one, but like there is a military one. So we were not allowed to be on the streets from, it was changing all the time, but I guess at the point when we were leaving, it was from 10 p.m. to like 7 a.m. So we were not sleeping, like these 2 weeks that we spent in Ukraine, we were not properly sleeping even one night. Like maximum of sleep was like 2 hours probably per night. One of the nights we just made a decision to run, so we had 1 hour, we packed all our stuff in one backpack. So like basically you leave your whole life behind. I had one backpack, my mom had one backpack, and my sister had one backpack, and like also some small bag with the food supplies for the road trip, and that's it. Yeah, so our stepfather took us to the west part of Ukraine, and like emotionally, of course, like it feels like overwhelming. Like I cannot even find the right words to describe it, but I guess the fact that it was so fast, it made it easier. Because if we were planning for a long time, it would be probably harder to leave, but it was so spontaneous. We just did it, so it was not so hard. It was hard to say bye to our grandmas because we just simply did not have enough space in the car to fit all the family. We just had one car. So we decided to make a trip in like 2 stages. First, me, my mom, and my sister was moved out, and then the grandmas. Yeah, so we were saying bye to our grandmas and like seriously hoping that we will see each other soon, like in a couple of weeks, or I don't know how much time it would take. For us, it took 6 days to get to Poland. You probably know, like, of course, all the flights are canceled. There are no planes except for the military ones flying above Ukraine. So normally it would take for me like 1 hour flight to get to Warsaw, maybe 1 hour and a half. But this time it took 6 days because there are checkpoints on the road. Like when we were passing the road between each, I don't know, village, city, or whatever, you have to stand like in a long traffic to get allowed to pass. And we were lucky enough to get past because we were like mostly women in the car. So it was like 3 women and a man who was driving. So we were just allowed to pass easily. Yeah, so I guess 4 days out of those were on the road, and 2 more days we waited for the bus because there were just no transportation from Ukraine to abroad, because there are just too many people who are interested in crossing the border. So we just didn't find the possibility. And plus it's Ukraine and it's like end of winter, beginning of spring, so it's cold. It's freaking cold, and many people were crossing the border by feet. They just walked. But yeah, I've heard stories. People stood there for like a day, 2 days. So when it's like -10 or something and you're there with all of your stuff, it's like, it's hard. We have a friend who was passing by walking by feet, and this friend has a son who's like 10 years old. When they crossed the border, they spent like, I don't know, 5 hours trying to warm him up because his feet were like, I don't know, like ice. He could not feel anything, nor his hands, nor his feet. So like when you think about war from like a larger perspective, you don't think about like these small things that matter a lot, like to a family, to a single human being. So yeah, but like anyways, I'm lucky and grateful that my family had a possibility to move out and to find a shelter. We are not seeking a refugee status. We're not running away like from poverty or something. We're not accounting for these countries to like help us financially. We just came here to be safe. That's it. Like it's always hard when you're meeting someone and like you're not sure when you're gonna see each other next time. So yeah, of course it was hard. But yeah, he's not staying at home at the moment. He's coming home, like checking everything up and going back. He's mostly staying in west part of Ukraine, as he's he's an old man. He's almost 60 years old. So yeah, he's not able to like fight or something. So he's mostly staying in west part of Ukraine, and many people from east parts, they move to the west because it's considered to be safer, much safer. But still, they are bombing even West Ukraine. They are bombing even like 20 kilometers from Hungary border, from Poland border. So if you are in Ukraine, there's like no spot to feel safe. You're right, there is no person who is not affected by this war. I personally do not know a person who did not lose anything in this war. I mean, like Ukrainian person. Everyone lost something. Some people lost their homes. My example is our houses, as far as we know, at this point, they are all, they were not destroyed, but for example, a house 5 minutes walk from ours is completely destroyed. And there was like a bomb's fraction that just fell off directly on this house. So like there are people now, there was a family, there was a life, and it's not there anymore. So yeah, some of the people lost their homes, some of the people lost their loved ones, which is even worse, because a house it's a tragedy, of course, if you lose your home, but it's not as bad if you lose your family member or your husband, your wife, your kids. Yeah. So what I said to all of my friends who are foreigners, who are not Ukrainians, when it all started, is when they are complaining about their problems, they really shouldn't, because anything else, like I lived through like many hard times in my life, and I think like this is the worst one, and I hope this is the worst that can ever happen to me or to anyone else. So when something like this happens to you and to your family and to your country, you realize that all of your problems, they really don't matter. You just have to be grateful for what you have. And from my personal experience, I always thought that I'm like, a citizen of the world. I left traveling, like I lived in another country that was completely different from what I was used to in my country, like in cultural matter, I guess. And I never thought that I'm, like a home person. I never thought that. I was thinking, yeah, I like to hang out there and there. I want to live there and there. And now I don't want it anymore. Now the only thing I want is to be at home, but I don't have that luxury. And many people do, and they just have to appreciate what they have to be grateful, and yeah, just live their lives, because now the lives of 44 something million people are basically destroyed, and they cannot afford it anymore. If you just can live in your house, if you just can meet your friends, meet your family, that's already like the biggest you can have in your life. Everything else doesn't matter. And that's like the personal thing that I wanted to share with people, but there's another one. If you know that some tragedy is happening in the world, did you just please, if you can, spread the word. If you see some posts on social media, if you see that this is like important, just share. Even your small steps, they can make a difference. And also try to really get into the matter and not spread disinformation, not spread like some fake news. Try to learn and to share. If we learn and share all together, we can make a big difference. Because I think there is like a misconception that this is politicians, presidents, parliament, whatever, who are responsible for the war. No, it's not. And we see it when it comes to war in Ukraine. It is not Putin. This is not Russian government. This is Russians. This is the whole country. Putin is not the one who's raping the women. Putin is not the one who's raping the kids. He's not the one that's spreading hate on the internet. And yeah, this is just the war between two nations. I cannot even call it, I said war like 100 times during our conversation, but to me, war is something that you have conflict between two countries, and this is not a conflict. This is just a direct genocide. This is not two countries were arguing and decided to fix their argument with a fight. It's not. It's just one country peacefully existing in the center of Europe, and there is another crappy neighbor that just decided to come to your home and get yours. Yeah, so if you're watching this, just know that this is not a war of politicians. This is a war of a nation that wants to make a genocide of another nation. And their only one and only goal is to destroy our people and destroy our lives, and to take our lands for various reasons. because there are like resources, better climate, and all of that. Yeah.